Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live from the News Hub here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. My name is Efua Tieku. The headlines. Asante is set to announce names of persons on newly constituted KNUST Governing Council. Ahead of Thursday's budget, minority in Parliament says government failed woefully in implementing key targets in 2018 budget. And two Congolese opposition leaders pull out of a wider deal to support a single candidate in next month's presidential election, ending hopes of a united front against the hand-picked successor to Joseph Kabila. Now stay with us for the next 60 minutes for details of all these and more. Now let's start with some health issues. The coalition of rotation nurses and midwives are threatening to embark on a nationwide demonstration and withdrawal of services if government does not pay its members their service allowances. They have given government a one-week ultimatum which would end on November 19, after which they would withdraw their services and subsequently hit the streets. In February 11, 2018, the Health Ministry wrote to the Finance Ministry's Director of Budget requesting for sealed verification of some 8,042 diploma nurses and midwives for financial clearance to do their mandatory national service. But after being posted in May this year, the allowances have not been forthcoming. The coalition of rotation nurses and midwives are threatening to embark on a nationwide demonstration and withdrawal of services if government does not pay its members their service allowances. They have given government a one-week ultimatum which would end on November 19, after which they will withdraw their services and subsequently hit the streets. In February 11, 2018, the Health Ministry wrote to the Finance Ministry's Director of Budget requesting for sealed verification of some 8,042 diploma nurses and midwives for financial clearance to do their service. But after being posted in May this year, the allowances have not been forthcoming. And I'm joined in the studio by George Fume, who is the president of the group. George, thank you for speaking to us this afternoon.
Thank you also for the opportunity given us.
What has been the reason given for this delay in your allowances?
Well, unlike other national service personnel who receive their national service allowance through the National Service Secretariat, we receive our allowance through the Controller and Accountant General Department. Hence, there is a need for the the Ministry of Health to give us staff ID. Then when we get a staff ID, we proceed to Ministry of Finance to do our biometric registration. Then afterwards, we start receiving our allowance. But as we talk now, 8 months into service, most of us have not gotten our staff IDs, let alone do our biometric registration at the Ministry of Finance. And also, we have people who have successfully gone through the process and they are not receiving the allowance.
So you have two groups of people. One group have gone through the process and they have their IDs, yes, but are not getting the allowance.
They are not getting the allowance.
And then another group doesn't have the ID at all.
Doesn't have the ID at all. And then we also have some people who have received something, but the government is reluctant to pay the arrears. Then with the same group, we have 129 of us who did not get financial clearance by the Minister of Finance.
Right, so what are you threatening to do? You have given government some ultimatum. What are you telling government?
We are telling the government that he should make sure within this week we should hear something positive from him. Otherwise, we will withdraw from service. And there has also been a reduction in our service allowance with no explanation given to us.
Right. Now, so how have you spoken with government on this development? And
yes,
what has been the
on
response?
the issues, we wrote series of letters, we did a lot of follow-up, and no positive response has come from the government.
Right, so this ultimatum you are giving, you are saying if you lay down your tools and not work?
Yes.
Starting from?
On the 19th of this month.
Right.
And afterwards, if they are still reluctant to tell us something positive, we'll definitely embark on demonstration.
Right. Are you able to tell us the amount involved with this 8,000 people, like the amount of allowances involved?
Per person or
generally?
I don't have that.
But how much does one person receive?
One person is supposed to receive 860 Ghana cedis. But as we talk now, it has been reduced to 760 Ghana cedis, of which the government has given no explanation to us.
Right, thank you very much, George. Fumi is the president of the Coalition of Rotation Nurses and Midwives. Thank you, George. Now let's turn our attention to education, because the Governing Council of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology will be reconstituted today after a standoff between the government and various unions that delayed the reopening of the university. Information gathered by TV3 indicates government has compromised on its quest to compel the various unions to change their existing representatives on the council. Our Ashanti Regional Correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar has been speaking with the University Relations Officer Kwame Yeboah Jr.
It's exactly 23 days since the Ashanti Regional Security Council shut down the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology after a violent demonstration by some of the students. The university was scheduled to reopen on Thursday, that was last week Thursday, November 8th. But a standoff between the government and the various unions on campus on the reconstitution of the new governing council was an impediment on the resumption. Last week, some students came on campus expecting that academic activities will kickstart. But then to their disappointment, they had to go back home. As you can see, the campus remains deserted. Most of the residential halls are under lock and key. But then security remains very tight here. Well, the good news we are hearing is that the new governing council may be reconstituted by the close of today. We will be finding out from the university relations officer whether what we are hearing is true or not.
We are having a council meeting today, and the meeting is going to comprise to be for the new 4 members the government nominated and the old members of the council. So what we're going to have is the new members are going to be sworn in as members of the council today.
So this means that government has now given in retaining the existing members?
I wouldn't say giving in. We shouldn't be using those words. Discussions went on. And what I would say is good sense has prevailed. So the old governing council would have the old members as members, and then the government 4 nominees will join them to form the new council.
So what's next after today, after the new members have been sworn in?
Immediately after it is done, as I indicated earlier, there's going to be a meeting. So discussions are going to go on regarding the schedule for the rest of the semester. So as soon as it is done, a statement will come out indicating when the students are coming back to school.
So by now, is the school authority ready to welcome the students? Is everything in place?
I would say so. To a very large extent, yes. We are ready to receive them.
I visited some of the residents of Hall, and I realized that the security systems have still not been fixed. Would they be safe when they come back that way?
Well, fixing them will take a bit of time, but they will be safe. We have our security there. All the halls have security men. So in the interim, they are going to ensure that people who are not supposed to be there, particularly those who are not students, will not be allowed, or they will be screened before they go in there. So there will be security arrangements to ensure that nothing happens to our students.
Thank you very much. That was the University Relations Officer, Mr. Kwame Yeboah Jr. Well, he is assuring parents that their horse will be safe when they return on campus. We will keep updating you on any other development here at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Ibrahim Abubakar, TV3, Kumasi.
So we'll still stay on this issue and speak to it into details. We are joined on the phone lines by Peter Pate Anti, who is the Executive Director of the Institute for Education Studies. He's been following keenly this development and will give us his insight on that. Peter, thank you for your time this afternoon. So we understand that the council is to be reconstituted today. I'm presuming that it means that the groundwork has been done for the various individuals to work cordially.
Yeah, that is a good news. From day one, the Institute for Education Studies have been with the position that the government should allow the various associations to select their own reps. Whether they would want to change them or not is not for government to say, but for the associations to make that particular decision. And if government so wish, government can change its members on the council so that the school gets reopened. And it's quite refreshing that finally, better late than never. We are now hearing that government has allowed the associations to bring their own members, and then government is bringing in new members so that the council will be constituted and the school will reopen for academic work to start. I think that is a very good news for the university.
No, so we do understand that the council is actually being reconstituted, or no, the members are being sworn in currently as we speak. But what does this mean for the academic calendar of the university?
That is a very important point that you are asking. Yes, it means that already the academic calendar for USC has distorted. If you compare that to the other universities, I know that by this time lecturers are submitting their questions for end of term examination and other things. It will mean that for USC, most of the things that were supposed to have been captured by the lecturers during this period might either not be captured, or they might have to postpone their examination to maybe after a short break during Christmas. That is unfortunate thing that might happen. It's either that they agree that they will postpone the exams to after a short break during Christmas, or the lecturers will have to extend their teaching time to make sure that they cover all that they are supposed to cover for this particular semester. It's quite unfortunate because ideally USC normally will have their graduation somewhere in November, and looking at how things are going, it means that particular activity might not also happen, or even if it will happen, it might happen later in the year. That is how this particular disturbance has caused the university, and we hope that going forward, some of these things will have a more civilized way to handle them so that we will not put academic work into such a difficult situation.
Peter, thank you very much for your insight. Now, let's turn our attention to the Electricity Company of Ghana, because that company wants Parliament to approve an increase in end-user tariffs of at least 37.6% to cover the losses it is making on electricity sales under the current tariff structure, which has been in effect since April this year. This year's edition of the annual major review of electricity tariffs is currently ongoing under the supervision of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, although a firm decision on the application tariffs for 2019 is not expected until December 9. The review process began on October 8 with the PURC inviting utility providers, including power generators such as Volta River Authority and the several independent power producers, transmission company, Gridco and distribution companies, ECG and the Northern Electricity Development, to present their proposals for the level of tariffs they want imposed for 2019. I've been joined in the studio by Kojo Poku, who is an energy expert. Kojo, thank you for your time.
Hi, good afternoon.
So good afternoon. This demand by ECG, almost 38% increase, is it justified?
Well, I don't know the details yet. Every year, we have rate of inflation in the country. So as an organization, ECG knows what it costs them to run the operations of ECG. Now, sometime earlier this year, we had a reduction. ECG went to PURC and wanted an increase, but PURC looked at the operations of ECG and said, look, we think that you can afford to give Ghanaians a reduction, so it gave a reduction. Now, going into the next year, ECG has gone back to say, look, things have changed. We think that we are not making any money. We are actually not being able to pay the IPPs that we owe them. So we are asking PURC, or should I say they are asking PURC to give them an increase. It's up to PURC to again take a second look at their books, their operations, and look at the factors that they put forward. We know that the dollar, the city has not done so well to the city, so the city has weakened. So if we pay our bills in cedis and they pay the IPPs in the dollar equivalent of the prevailing rate, then that has changed. So we need to wait and see.
So I sense that you think that an increase may be justified, but is the percentage?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying an increase is justified. I'm saying that a review is justified. You cannot run a company and year on year not do a review, because ECG it doesn't have to be a review upwards. There could be a review downwards again. We don't know that, because bear in mind, the more people get connected onto the grid, okay, the base broadens, and it means that more people are consuming the power coming in. So it means since there's more people, it means more revenue, so you can have a downwards review. It doesn't necessarily mean that, what I'm saying is that there should be a review, which ECG is saying that it's 38%. So we need to wait and see what PURC thinks.
I mean, what does this mean for, the ordinary persons, the cost of living, having electricity go up by as much as 38%?
Well, I think if it is to go up, right, it goes up. I think with the issue of government coming in to subsidize and take out the increment or stop increment every now and then, it's not the right way to run a country. Everybody blames government for when things go up. But we decide to live in a capitalist country where there is rate of inflation. So every year, things will inch up a little bit. And as Ghanaians, we do what we do best, find a way to basically sustain.
Right, so thank you very much, Kojo Poku, who is an energy expert. Right, now let's turn our attention to our MTN video report for today, and our citizen journalist reports on a poor classroom structure that gets badly affected whenever it rains at the Karachi East in the Volta region.
This is Parikpari Victory Presby School. The school is located in the Karachi East municipality. This is what this class goes through usually whenever it rains. And here, the water is passing through one of the class. And since it's not properly covered, they have to push to one side to avoid being bitten by the rain. Citizen journalist reporting from Parikpari.
Thank you very much for that report. You can also send your video report to our WhatsApp platform 055-1433-044, and we will add it on Midday Live and subsequently in other bulletins. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. Stay with us. We have more coming up. Don't go away. You're welcome back. Now, we do understand the minority in Parliament is having a briefing on the 2019 budget. Minority spokesperson on finance, Ato Forson, says Ghanaians should not expect anything positive from the 2018 budget. My colleague Evelyn Tingma is at that briefing and joins us for more. Evelyn, what can you tell us about what the minority is saying about the budget?
Good afternoon, Efwa. Basically, what the minority is saying, like you rightly said, that Ghanaians should not expect anything positive from the 2019 budget that will be presented by the finance minister on Thursday. And according to them, in the 2017 budget, which was dubbed as Sempa budget, turned out to be a Semhunu budget. And the 2018 budget, which they called it a Juma budget, also turned out to be full of job losses and hardship for the ordinary Ghanaians and Ghanaians in general. And so the 2019 budget, which the finance minister has indicated that is going to be called the budget for hope, and according to the minority, would be a hopeless budget. And so according to Ato Forson, the economic sectors are coming down over the last 2 years, and this is likely to add on more debt to the country's debt stock, and the impact on the Ghanaian economy will be severe. And so basically, there's no hope for the 2019 budget, according to the minority.
Did they mention specific things they would want to hear the finance minister talk about for 2019?
Yes, what the minority they are expecting in the 2019 budget is not anything positive, but they are expecting that it will be a budget that will be skewed away from the economic sectors to non-economic sectors. Well, they are also saying that there's going to be prevailing hardship that will persist and may even get worse. They are also expecting that there will be worsening unemployment situation. There will be new taxes to pay for campaign unrealistic promises. They are also expecting that there will be more accumulation, more debt accumulation due to alarming borrowing for consumption. In fact, they are also saying that, or they are expecting that there will be an upsurge in government expenditure on populist policies. And well, the minority also said that the issuance of they are also expecting the issuance of a century bond, which is over and above the absorptive capacity of the economy. So these are the expectations of the minority members for the finance minister presentation on Thursday.
Evelyn, thank you very much. Now, it's time for What Do You Think? And this afternoon, we are asking, what are your expectations for the 2019 budget? Take a listen.
November 15, the Minister of Finance is expected to present the budget statement and economic policy for 2019. You have heard from analysts, but what are the expectations of the ordinary Ghanaian man? You find out on What Do You Think?
Focus on employment, because if people don't get work to do, it creates all the confusion that we have around. This noise that is going on, people being violent and all that, is because they don't have work to do.
You know, currently the ongoing accidents on our roads, I'm expecting the government to put much into it, because the rate at which people is dying because of the poor nature of our road. Yeah, I'm expecting that the government will go in that direction. And also, when it comes to the fuel, if the government can do something about it, because you see that people are complaining in the country.
Creation of jobs for the youth, and then they should see to our electricity bills too. It's also high. I think this goes to the road minister. He should also sit up and then do his work.
I don't want to hear so much, but as the system is going now, there is no work for the youth, and you know, everything is slow now. There's nothing at all going on. Nothing at all. That's all I can tell you now.
Your bread, just like that. I don't know. Your bread, should also. You're more modern on page man bread. That 2 cities got credit. Nobody will them. I don't understand.
My major concern is about the education, especially the free education. I think that the budget should look more at it and provide funding for more infrastructure.
We want more facilities so that the health sector is improved. Because these days a lot of people go to hospital and die. It's like a theater now. So when the system is improved, then fine. It means we are also living as human beings.
And that's all for business this afternoon. Let's get back to some more stories. Private legal practitioner Akoto Ampao is warning recruiting people without integrity to the office of the special prosecutor could prematurely collapse the office. He said the public's misconception about the work and office of the special prosecutor is largely due to the failure of government to communicate the work to the office or the work of the office. Akoto Ampao has been interacting with TV3.
Lawyer Akoto Ampao's name came up strongly as one of the few who were being considered for the post of the special prosecutor in the lead-up to the president's announcement. The private legal practitioner says misconceptions about the office of the special prosecutor is largely due to government's failure to communicate work done so far. He said the special prosecutor will need at least a year and a half to be more effective.
In my view, at least a year and a half or even more to set up an effective office of a public prosecutor. That is, if we are really serious in having an effective office that actually is capable of investigating, identifying those who have stolen public funds and prosecuting them.
He said the media should be interested in finding out what the allocations are to the setting up of the Special Prosecutor's Office in the 2019 budget. Lawyer Ampao was quick to defend the Special Prosecutor Martin Amido about his failure to prosecute anybody yet. He said the successes struck by him whilst pursuing civil cases is quite different from the current criminal cases before him.
Criminal prosecution is a completely different ballgame. You need to do proper investigation, and that he cannot do it. He's not a trained investigator. You need people who have the requisite training to do investigation, provide the evidence for him to assess, and then determine which of the cases to prosecute.
Akoto Ampao wants civil society to put a lot more pressure on government to address challenges facing the special prosecutor.
Ghanaian civil society and all nationals who see that corruption is doing us massive damage ought to begin to speak out and put the necessary pressure on government, especially the finance ministry, to provide sufficient funding for the office to be set up. There are institutions, there are people in the public services, there are people in business community who do not want change in Ghana.
The special prosecutor Martin Amido in his latest write-up bemoaned the lack of resources and support, likening his situation to the work of Robert Mueller of the US-Russia investigations.
So Akoto Ampao also spoke about the Right to Information Bill, saying the likely greatest passage to the bill is Parliament. He says he's of the view that the tendency of having Parliament introduce changes that will weaken the bill or the attempt to drag its feet, as was done under previous parliaments, will spell doom for the RTI. He wants pressure mounted on the president.
If you read the first article of our constitution, it says that the sovereignty of Ghana resides in the people of Ghana, in whose name and for whose welfare the powers of government are to be exercised in a manner consistent with the constitution. It means that all institutions of government, all agencies of government, even the president, the office of the president of the republic, exist only for one thing, for the welfare and the interests of the people of Ghana. They do not exist for themselves. All information in the hands of these institutions that exist for us, we are entitled to them. That is fundamental. The real danger has to do with the changes that Parliament may introduce, whittling away the important gains that have been made in the current bill. An equally major danger is that this Parliament, like the previous Parliament, would dance about this matter and then the term of the parliament will end. And then when a new government and parliament is elected, we'll start all over again. Pressure ought to be brought to bear on the President of the Republic to push his MPs, who are in the majority in parliament, to pass the law. And to pass the law, ensuring that they do not dilute its effectiveness.
Let's get back to the issue of the special prosecutor, because the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu, has been speaking about it, saying the operationalization of the office of the special prosecutor has been problematic. Although he praised governments for the bold decision to create the office, subsequent actions has rendered the office useless.
Without a shred of doubt that the president had absolutely good intentions in making this proposal, and even to the extent of who he appointed. Nobody, as I've said in the past, appoints Martin Amidu without being clear in their mind that they want a certain type of result. So I'm clear that from the president's perspective, he clearly wanted to achieve something. I think that in between that and the execution is where we have the challenge, that the follow-up actions to make this policy one that is actually operationalized and are able to provide the type of tangible results we expect, that has not happened with the speed that we would have wanted to see. And so prior to our visit to the Special Prosecutor's Office about 2 weeks ago, I mean, we had all been talking about how the main legislation should provide him enough capacity to do the things that were expected of him, or at least a substantive aspect of it. However, when we engaged him, and you see these are the lawyers talking, he indicated that the law requires him, public policy requires him to have a spending officer, to have a budget officer, to have certain entities in place. Otherwise, he cannot touch money, receive money, procure what is required, etc. And so there's a sense in which there's a stalemate that he faces, because as a lawyer himself, he'll compromise himself in terms of the thing we are trying to fight. We're trying to fight corruption. Somebody can say he evaded or avoided processes that were required in taking a particular action, and that would not serve his interest. And so he was able to convince me, at least, that yes, the sub-legislation is absolutely critical for him, not just to get the various logistics, human resources that he needs, but also to maintain his credibility as someone who is aligning himself with the law and doing what is right at all points. Otherwise, he himself will expose himself to some kind of somebody interested in saying that, look, this guy is also breaking the rules and is abusing his authority, etc.
Right, so away from this issue, let's get back to the issue of the KNUST Governing Council. We do understand that the council has been sworn in. Let's head over to Ashanti region, where our correspondent Ibrahim Abubakar joins us back on the line. Ibrahim, can you confirm if the council has been sworn in? Well, we have lost Ibrahim Abubakar on the line. We'll try and get him back on the line for that. You're watching Midday Live on TV3. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly. X-Men star Hugh Jackman and Robert Downey Jr., who played Iron Man, are among stars who have paid tributes to American writer and former president of Marvel Comics Stan Lee, who has died at the age of 95. In 1961, Lee created the Fantastic Four for Marvel Comics and went on to create titles including Spider-Man and The Incredible Hulk. Actor Chris Evans, best known for playing Marvel's Captain America, wrote, "There will never be another Stan Lee." X-Men star Hugh Jackman said, "We've lost a creative genius. Stan Lee was a pioneering force in the superhero universe. I'm proud to have been a small part of his legacy and to have helped bring one of his characters to life." Now, Robert Downey Jr., who played Iron Man, simply wrote, "I owe it all to you. Rest in peace, Stan." Kevin Feige, the producer and president of Marvin Studios, tweeted, "No one has had more of an impact on my career and everything we do at Marvel Studios than Stan Lee." The legendary comic book author died at Cedars Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, according to a family member. Repented Hip Life musician evangelist Papa Shi has said a special prayer begging God to restore fellow musician Ofori Amponsa to his kingdom. In an intercessory prayer, Papa Shi besought God to save and guide the steps of the Otologe hitmaker to do his will. The Ataji and Atepa hitmaker Papa Shi was a hotcake in the early 2000s. The secular artist, now a man of God, has spent the past 10 years preaching the gospel. After years of entertaining Ghanaians with back-to-back hits, Otologe hitmaker Ofori Amponsa announced that he's been called by God to propagate his works.
Ofori Amponsa, before you, as I'm praying, Lord, restore your servant, Yeshua. You love him. Because of him and me, you came to the cross. You share your blood for us. You share your blood for mankind, Lord. I pray this hour in the mighty name of Jesus. If anybody has backslided, if anybody has fallen, Lord, I pray for restore that person to your kingdom, Lord. Save your people. Father, restore them, empower them. Holy Spirit, help them because they have no strength. Without you, Father, we are nothing. We depend on you. Dependable God. Lord, I intercede for my brothers. I intercede for my sisters. Midday was this why ye. We do the Muslim Pabwe. I don't need amen.
And that will be it for Midday Live for today. My name is Efua Tieko. For more news, do go to 3news.com. Have a lovely afternoon.